Instagram's connecting thing. There we go. Oh, girl.
Hello!
Oh my God, I love your look so much.
Thank you. I changed it up a little bit from what I was doing earlier.
It's so cute.
I'm a little
Let's
sweaty though. It's hot as hell.
let's do the intro. Oh yeah, it is hot. Just from the air conditioning.
I'll just keep this.
Thank you. Oh, I'll hold the intro until you're back. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Stay at Home and Disney, our nightly live stream where we stay at home safely and talk about Disney. Tonight, we are joined by the incredible Blair Imani.
Thank you.
And we are going to do a deep dive into queer coding and representation across all forms of Disney media.
Indeed. Also, I think that folks should know how we met because we skipped over that last time.
We have the cutest meet cute.
Okay, so y'all, I dressed up as Jordy LaForge. I have my visor here, but it is messed up. My dog got to it, so
No!
I can perfectly see. So inshallah, I'll get a new one. I just have to remember to go onto Etsy. But anyway, and then I was like, oh, it'd be great before I leave, because as soon as we did that thing, I left back home to LA. Anyway, I was like, I need to film something for Reading Rainbow. And I was like, but we need extras. We don't have any extras. Oh, shit. So my friend Ren and I, we saw this group of, like, smiley, happy people dressed up in some, like, Steven Universe cosplay. And I ran over and I was like, will you all be in my video? And they were like, sure. And they did great. We took one take. And now we're
We
friends.
nailed it. It was really
so
funny.
Shiny.
Neil was saying, he was like, it was so exciting to like meet your friend because like I'm always showing him your stuff, but he'd never met you.
Yeah, we've never met.
Because that particular moment when you found us was after he had discovered, we think his badge was maybe stolen, like when we were out drinking the night before or something. We were able to replace it, but he had to go like in the convention center, and we were just like, well, just wait here in the shade, and we'll just sit. So we were just
and then an impromptu little thing happened. But yeah, it's good to meet you as well. Okay, let's do this. I have my beet juice. I don't fast, even though it's Ramadan, because I'm medically unable to fast. I have it in my little wine glass, because even though I'm sober, I can be on theme.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's you have a little sip of that.
Yeah.
We'll have a little Clayton, like we do.
Oh, I didn't get enough salt. There we go. Scumps, and thank you for joining us again.
Cheers.
Neil and I were just looking through articles about which villains are popularly accepted as coded gay and catching up so that we would be on the same page information-wise.
So well, I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, well, which Disney character is gay? And I was like, all of them. But no, that's just my personal opinion. But I was talking about, like, the Gaston song. I'm like, what's Gaston's little sidekick dude called? Do we know?
LeFou.
Yeah.
LeFou. All right? See, I pity LeFou. Just kidding. And so I was like, dude, like, clearly he's in love with Gaston because he spent all of his time with the barmaids, chilling out back, relaxing all cool, shooting some b-ball. Just kidding. And so they were all, like, chilling and practicing a whole song about Gaston. Like, you have to be in love with somebody, straight or gay, to make a whole song about them. Like, LeFou, queer AF. So that's one.
That's actually an amazing point, because if you think about which Disney songs are about a person, they're always love songs unless they're a villain song. Like Ratigan has a great villain song, but it's sung by his admirers, his guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, it would be very easy. Like, we watched Tiger King, right? Y'all watched Tiger King.
We actually haven't.
Don't. But anyway, like, he has these henchmen, and like, he has these gay henchmen, you know? And like, Tiger King would make a great queer villain, honestly, because he is gay. Anyway,
I love that.
What did you come across in your research?
So everything, like, and I knew this from, I actually took a class that focused some of this in college. Everything always goes back to Shere Khan.
Yes.
And part of our research just now was us arguing over whether that's even a valid interpretation. And I think for a lot of people
we're losing her.
Oh yeah. No, you're fine.
Instagram told me I needed to log off, but screw you, time things. Anyway.
Yeah, so
I think, no, all I was saying was, like, there's a lot of these where I'm like, yes, obviously that, but just, like, Shere Khan, I get, we talked about it for a while. Shere Khan, I get, but it's just not for, I mean, and obviously I'm not really in a place to, you know, say yes or no, this is or isn't. It just does, it seems less.
It seems like a reach.
What's that?
It seems
like
a
reach.
A little bit more.
What we started doing was diving into what homosexuality in the 60s was like, because for us, it's easy to look at a character like Jafar and say, well, yeah, he's super flamboyant and like that's what gay people are like. But your experience with a gay person in the 60s is very different.
Yeah, so like back then it was called the homophile movement. I happen to have studied this in my historian work. So back then it was called the homophile movement, and until 1973, homosexuality was considered to be a mental illness by the American Psychological Association, and that didn't change until after the Stonewall riots and advocacy being done by different groups of people. So basically, before then, it was rather similar to how in our lifetime kind of the movement around gay marriage was, where it was
Right.
kind of more of an emphasis on we're just like you except gay,
I
instead of
am a
it being
human.
like, yeah. And
I
so it was
deserve
more about like
rights.
humanizing, more of that let's just kind of mesh into this American ideal, because like Disneyland was kind of built on that nostalgia of like that perfect, you know, nuclear family. And so as gay people were trying to insert themselves into that, it was merely like, you know, we're just like you. And so the homophile movement, it was just like, you know, we're gay, you know, like, yeah. And so that's how it started to shift. And then when you start to see like just the general unrest and Americans really feeling like, and kind of all over the world as well, just feeling like this whole fitting into a box is not working for us, that's when you started to see more radicalism. But back then it's kind of that thing where it was like, you know, so-and-so's roommate, Aunt Tess's best friend. It's like, that's Aunt Tess's girlfriend for sure.
No,
you know?
they just live together and have for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Just her roommate. And so it was a lot more under discussed. And so I think that reflects in Disney. The thing that's interesting to me about the older, like queer coding in Disney, is that clearly there's this undercurrent of, if you are any type of gay or any type of flamboyant, or you don't fit into this like box of like how a man should act or how a woman should act, you're bad. And that's what frustrates me.
And that's actually where I kind of think we should start this conversation almost, is with Disney is all about hyper gendering things. Princesses and female characters are incredibly feminine.
Everybody being on the
big
polar
eyes,
opposite sides of whatever the, you know, may be.
And then the men, even if they're not hyper masculine, their entire narrative is about proving their masculinity and earning their right to wed the princess.
Yes.
And that's consistent, like all the way up, even to now, with a few little exceptions where Disney has been making progress.
Absolutely. And I think like it's really interesting because if you even look at like ancient Greek myths and stuff, there was still kind of that themes throughout where it's like the women are very feminine and da da da. And then the modesty culture, it's old as fuck, you know, it's like ancient. But what interests me is the character modeling that they have, and you've spoken about this I think as well, like the whole like the eyes are giant and the waists are tiny and the hair, like, you know, I cover my hair, but like the Disney princess's hair is a huge part of who they are, even for like the more Arab coded princess Jasmine. Her hair is bigger than her whole body.
Hair is considered like a fertility symbol, and this is the reason like girls like play with their hair a lot when they're flirting and stuff, to show like look how like
I like it.
I can make babies for you. My hair is so nice. Like look at me.
Yeah.
So Disney princesses have that.
And Jack said, well, that's what sells, and I know the answer to this. That's what sells because that's what's out there to be sold.
Yes.
There is no other option.
Yes.
Like we don't know that the alternative, whatever that may be, wherever in the middle of that spectrum, we don't know that wouldn't sell because nobody makes it.
Within the Disney realm, I have an analogy. I say this all the time. Yes, everyone lined up for hours to go ride the rides on Pandora, but they would have for Beastly Kingdom too. It doesn't have to be IP. Like, we don't know what sells because we don't make new things. Like, when Everest came out, like, everyone went and rode Everest, but Disney won't invest in things that are risky.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's why they've been around so long. You know, there's something to be said about the risk security model. But like, I mean, kudos to Disney for at least having like Pride Days and really being open about that. And like, they're very quick to kick out any guests that are unruly or are homophobic during those times.
Yeah. Which they should be, you know, anybody who is anti anything, like that, you know, that is something that somebody can't control. That is, you know, if somebody's being a dick and then you're mad about that, okay, that's a different thing. But, you know, being transphobic, being anything,
we've heard
like
some
that.
Horror stories. Yeah. I mean, from working there, you hear everything.
Well, one of my friends, who I will not name them, but my friend recently came out as trans while working at Disney and has worked at Disney for, I think, almost a decade. And they were able to come out and still work at Disney and like be accepted as a trans woman. And I think that's really beautiful because not everybody has a workspace like that. And then for, you know, the way that Disney treats their like, you know, their employees, I think speaks more than, you know, who they're hiring at the top. Because you have to make sure that you're treating everybody equally and you're making affirmations. Because you can have a super progressive space, but if they're not actually hiring the people that they claim to care about.
Yeah. And we've seen a number of friends transition successfully at Disney, but I've also seen the opposite of this. A friend who worked at Disney in Florida had a very difficult time existing as a trans woman. Yeah. So part of that support really comes from being in California and being an incredibly liberal environment. Obviously, Disneyland is full of like very, very cheerful gays. Like that's been our experience. Also, many sassy gays. I've also worked with them. There's a whole rainbow.
A whole new world.
Yeah. And I mean, I know as having been a scheduler, one of my big priorities whenever somebody told me they were transitioning and were having a problem because their dead name was showing up on documentation, I would go above and beyond, and so would everyone on the scheduling and management team to try to make sure that that did not happen again. Because you know, you have a name tag, and Disney's very stringent about what your name tag can say.
I have a question about that.
Your name.
Is it true that if there's like two Blairs, I would have to go by Imani because I can't be Blair I?
No. You would just be Blair.
It's Blair and Blair. Yeah. And how you guys referred to one another or people referred to you is up to you backstage and everything. But yeah, your name tag is always just a first name. And that goes back to Walt, because Walt had a name tag that just said Walt.
I have another question about Disney lore, but I feel like it's off topic.
No, it's fine. Ask.
So I was told that the reason why he's like pointing like this in pictures is because it's like supposed to be like universal, and sometimes pointing is bad in some. Yes. But then other people say it's because he had a cigarette in his hand.
I think that that sort of the one thing of Walt pointing like this because of the cigarette probably is easy to look back on because there are a lot of photos of that. But Disney does go out of their way to not offend people. And that's why when you work there, your options are you point like this or you point like this. Like you give your whole hand. And because those are less offensive.
Jackie says she thinks it's both, and I'm prone to agree. I think it came from, you know, being proper, but I think people will willingly adopt like, oh no, it's because of Walt. Like, and that's fine too.
Point.
Now, is he buried in the matter? No, I'm kidding.
That's the basketball court.
I've seen him. No.
We're doing
great. Oh, man.
So, anyway, so going back to this subject of like traditional femininity and masculinity roles, that goes hand in hand with painting villains as other, and in that case, it usually means gay.
Or old or fat.
Or old. We were just talking about Yzma.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. First of all, Eartha Kitt. Oh, icon. Okay. But, like, the whole, like, the old lady in Beauty and the Beast, I was terrified of an old lady knocking on my door at night. That's a terrible place to be. That's not charitable. That's not empathetic. But growing up...
That and Snow White, like, another creepy old lady popping in, like...
Yeah, like, I feel like, so my mom, she's, you know, she looks very youthful. She's very proud about that. But, like... It was a long time before she had, like, she doesn't want to go gray ever because that's, like, terrifying to her. So I was like, Mom, you can't break quarantine to get your hair dyed. And she was like, fuck you, because that's the relationship we have. But anyway, like, she was like, no, I'm gonna go. Nah, you know? But I feel like because she grew up all on Disney films and, like, a lot of media is like, don't ever get old. And you look at Ursula, like, Ursula's fat and a squid, and, like, those are, like, scary things. But it also, like, has created this cult following of people who identify that, you know? Identify with those things.
Well, now Ursula was based on Divine,
and
we just read the best quote from Howard Ashman, who I'm just going to read it because I was laughing so hard over this.
We also were talking about, you know, the gays in Disney who helped to build these things, and yet they're, I mean, obviously Howard Ashman doesn't have carte blanche over changing all of these things, but he did have sit in and comment on some of the concept art.
And is it true that he passed away of AIDS during the production of Beauty and the Beast?
Right before it premiered.
If you watch Waking Sleeping Beauty, you'll cry your eyes out. Because they went, and they talk about how all the the head creative team all went from the premiere, not the premiere, the test screening that they did where it was partially complete, and they got the standing ovation. It was like a wild reception. And they hopped in a cab and they went to the hospital where Ashman was lying in bed dying. And he was like emaciated and he was barely there. And his mother pulled back the sheet to show that he was wearing a Beauty and the Beast t-shirt. And yeah, it's like, good luck with your emotions watching this movie. Oh, did I want to like sob my eyes out today? Because here we are. I apparently closed that article, but I'll find it real fast. Oh, wait, it's this one.
So yeah, like obviously he didn't have full control over absolutely everything, story-wise and everything. But it's, you know, there have to have been a decent number of gay individuals working on these films that, like, that must have been really awkward for, like, if they were things that were sort of noticed at the time. The quote that he said,
I was trying to find the article where he said it. It was, he basically said...
As you look it up, I'll like share a little bit about Disney characters I thought were gay, but that was also just like my gay imagination. Oh, you found it?
We found it.
Okay, fabulous.
So, wait, where's the actual quote?
I think you went too far.
No, I think it's down here. Okay, she looks like a Miami... Okay, well, here's the context. They had struggled with designing Ursula. She was like skinny, she was this, she was that. And then somebody did, it was Rob Minkoff drew a vampy, overweight matron who everyone agreed looked a lot like Divine. She had the eye makeup, the jewelry, the body type, and the glamour. Ashman said, she looks like a Miami Beach matron. He cackled, playing mahjong by the pool. What an image.
I love just the thought of like a Disney storyboard room or character design room being like, that looks like Divine. Everybody's like, yeah, it does look like Divine. And then they're all like, why do we all know who Divine is?
And I think this is the one
That's
he's
the one.
referencing right there.
Also, I need to start saying vampy more often. This is an apt descriptor for many a person.
And that was one of the interesting things that I was encountering running into these articles and like thinking about all of this information was terminology that I don't see frequently applied, like the phrase, like the word "swishy" to describe a certain gay stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Shere Khan and even like Jafar and Scar might be described that way. And the only time that I can think of that term being used in a place where I'm like, oh yeah, is in the Birdcage when they're doing the rehearsal when he does the fussy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's later. It's when he does the walk. Yeah. He says, "What, too swishy?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
he's
now
like, no, I just didn't never realize John Wayne walked like that.
But I never realized that swishy was actually more of a gay term and not just a phrase that was appropriate in that context. So I'm learning things left and right.
I mean, there's sassy. There's like a lot of things that are very coded as like, this is gay. Like girly, sissy. That was something so my older brother's gay is like, I'm bisexual. My older brother's gay. And like so much of like our childhood was like him wanting to like play with dolls and just like, he has, 4 sisters. He wanted to play with dolls with us, like that's natural, gay or not.
Played with dolls like
but
crazy.
The fear
I had
that
a lot of female cousins. So
yeah, my parents like they were freaked out about it. Well, I don't know, my dad's pretty liberal, but like my mom, she struggled with trying to reinforce this. And like one time I vividly remember he was like helping me braid the doll's hair, and my mom got so mad. And it was like, she's usually chill about things, but like, there's some, I think, point where parents feel like I have to reinforce this thing that I don't even understand or agree with just because. And media helps to create that infrastructure where people feel like, no, this is what it has to be. But that's why I'm excited, like, even though it's a minor thing, like there's that Disney dress up or princess me thing, and the dudes can do it too. Like they will, you want to get glam, little Steven, go ahead.
Yeah. You want to see Disney cast members lose their goddamn minds? Put a little boy in a dress and say, like, let them know that it was his choice. We will fawn over that child. My God.
I saw a TikTok of a dad who was like, my son said he wanted to dress as Elsa for Halloween or for whatever thing was going on. And I said, there's no way I'm letting him do that. And then it like clips to the next thing and it said alone. And they were both walking in Elsa dresses. And I was like, yes.
So cute.
Oh,
I love that.
Good. Yeah. No, we have some important comments. I want to make sure I address. My mom pointed out that Pink Flamingos was a very popular movie, at least on college campuses. So lots of folks knew who Divine was because of that.
Good to know.
And Scholar17 says, I have liner notes from Mencken that says that the line, we don't like what we don't understand, and it scares us from the mob scene, was kind of Ashman's nod to both AIDS and being gay.
Mm.
And I mean, yes. Yes, there's no argument there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh,
There's a lot of
my
great
mom
input.
points out that Ashman's lyrics reflect a longing for acceptance, part of your world, somewhere that's green, and both in Over the Rainbow mode. And Over the Rainbow is what made Judy Garland a gay icon.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah.
Yes, I
My
love
mom is an
this.
ACLU lawyer. She's a BAMF. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of your world, definitely, like, there's a lot of elements. My friend Leo Kalian, he has a song called Fucked Up, and it's really good. And it talks about, like, basically his growing up and, like, feeling like, is this something that's nurture or nature? Like, is this me or who am I? Like, you know, and I love this song, and it's been, like, my quarantine anthem. And I wanted him to perform it tomorrow when we do the gay iftar. And he was like, no, like we're doing a religious gathering. I'm not going to sing Fucked Up, but it's so good. And I think that a lot of people identify through their music. And Elton John reference again, because you know I'm an Elton John head. Oh, hey, Sam.
Hey, Sam.
During the Rocket Man movie of Elton John's life, instead of saying, I miss the earth so much, I miss my wife, which is the original lyric, he changes it during Rocket Man to say, I miss the earth so much, I miss my life.
Yeah.
As to say, like, no, I don't miss my wife. I don't fucking have a wife, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I actually don't miss my wife that I'm divorced from because I'm gay. And I thought that was a really great reclamation. And it's so dope that there are people who get to do that in life. Like, it's beautiful that Howard Ashman got to be affirming in the ways that he was able to of gay people, even as it was popular to villainize gay people.
Yes, absolutely.
Cheers to that.
Hell yeah. Now, we started talking before about LeFou and Gaston. Neil was talking earlier about how Gaston is overcompensating. And I was saying how like we took LeFou from in the animated version and put him in the live action and very, very made him gay. Like,
they made it a lot more obvious
clear.
of his intention.
A little on the nose there.
Yeah.
But he even implies in the movie, though, that Gaston might not be interested in the Bimbettes. He has that never gonna happen ladies line, which I thought fell flat comedy-wise on that beat. But as a statement is fascinating to go, like, they wrote that and they let it be in the movie. So, like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, is it like just comedy risk? Is it just them inserting it into the joke? Like, okay, what do we think of Timon and Pumbaa?
Oh yeah,
literally.
First of all, having Nathan Lane as a voice actor, already you're like, they're gay.
Yeah, it's essentially the birdcage, but they're a warthog and a meerkat. Like, it's fantastic.
When I didn't want to go see the birdcage when I was like in 3rd grade and I didn't know what it was because that title sounds boring, my parents pulled me aside and were like, well, Sarah, it's like if the genie and Timon were married. And I was like, I'm sold, let's go. And to this day, it is one of my absolute favorite, like, top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
No, and then Ernie Sabella is Pumbaa, who was in Forum with Nathan Lane on Broadway, which I assume is how he ended up in that role. Mm-hmm. I don't know where he falls, but he has an amazing voice. And yeah, they have a lot of, like, there's moments where, like, Timon's, like, pushing Pumbaa's butt and stuff like that. They have, like, the scale, like, twink, like, bear kind of, like, dynamic, like,
that's
physically.
The thing. It made me think of, too, like, kind of, like, the pairings of gay people that, like, you even see in, like, popular media, like, with the Modern Family, like, Timon and Pumbaa. But then also, like, the scene watching as an adult, the new version, I really feel like those animals should have had eyebrows, but that's another conversation for another time. But the part where he reflects on, like, farting too much and that being shameful, that could be read as something totally different. Like, oh, the shame. He was afraid of his name.
That he went to the water hole and everybody left because they didn't want to associate with him.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely the farts, but, like, you know, far be it from me to deny the fact that I project gayness onto everything. So that's how I read it.
But here's the thing, and we were talking about that too, because, you know, I was saying, like, you know, if you talk to someone who has had the gay experience growing up with these movies, they're, like, engagement with these characters can be very different, and that's where it's easier for some people to see characters like Shere Khan that we as like straight people in 2020 are like, how is he gay? And for people who've actually had that experience, be like, no, he's like definitely gay.
Like this reason, this reason, this reason. Yeah. And
Yeah,
people really see the representation they need. Like on my book, which I should have, but I don't have right here, is there's a gay couple on the front, and it's my Uncle Lester, who was closeted basically till he passed, and he came out to family. And I gave him a partner on the front. And I showed the book to my brother, and my brother was immediately like, oh, you put a gay couple on the front. That was the first thing he saw, whereas other people buy the book, read the whole book, then realize there's a gay couple, and then send me an angry email. And they're like, why is there a gay couple on the front of this book? Because people, you know, the eye can't see what it doesn't know is there, basically. It's one of those things.
Well, and I guess that's how so many roommates like slid by, because if you don't have that experience, you don't have like a queer person in your life to tell you like, oh, honey, like, how are you going to perceive it?
Yeah.
When we started making inclusive products for our Etsy, I'm wearing one now.
Yes.
So this says, he's my new dream, and Neil has the matching one that says, and she's mine. But we make this shirt in every pronoun. And it actually was a lot of work to do that, because not only, if you're going to make a shirt that's inclusive, it can't just be each pronoun. It then has to have each pronoun attached to each shirt type.
Ooh, this is reminding me of SAT math questions. We got to like double it up, you know.
The numbers are insane.
So like a racerback tank and a baby doll tee and what they call the unisex.
Oh, and we won't call them baby doll tees on our website. We won't call them women's cut. We call them fitted.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
A Simon Cowell shirt.
But it does cost me.
We just call it the baby gap shirt. It's fine.
Oh my god. So yeah, how many variants are there? There's like over 100.
So there's 3 different shirt types, and each shirt type comes in a different color, and then every one of those there are he, she, and they for each of those.
Because if you're whether you're the Flynn or the Rapunzel in the couple, you should be able to get the appropriate pronoun. Because like I'm also not going to say like, if we were very different people and like dating and like had a different dynamic, you might. So I don't even want to be like, because you're the girl, you have to be Rapunzel. These are the most fluid shirts you can imagine.
I love that. No, that's important, because like I went to Disneyland recently, I think the most recent time, and my younger sister, she wanted to get he's my Mickey, she's my Minnie shirts for her and her partner. And I was looking at, and I was just like, oh, Disney, it's kind of like, you know, binary, like, and it's you can't really wear 2 he's my Mickey, because then it points this way twice, you know. It's just
I would love that TikTok though, of just a couple going like
and he's
So and because we made this product, we both became very aware of how heteronormative Disney's merchandising is.
Yeah. We also made a line that we put out on Valentine's Day, and it's this prince loves princes and this princess loves princesses.
They're like subtle, boundable shirts.
Yeah, and they're in.
I like it.
Yeah, just more things out there, because there are no couples shirts that you see that. For everybody. So,
and then that's the other thing is like Disney doesn't go out of their way to make them like even neutral. They're either like it's heteronormative or they're like it's gay days. There's no in between in their merchandising.
Did you want a rainbow gay people? And it's like I would just like a shirt that is
right. Can I just have a shirt that they both say he or they both say she? Like that'd be
and like
or they
rainbow.
Or whatever.
And like I get the red thing, but also not everyone looks good in red. So like some flexibility is important.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, Jackie's giving us notes as a designer who's actually worked for Disney merchandising. Jackie says that I can say that some designers were even a little uncomfortable making those shirts because there are a lot of gay people in those offices. Yes, I can completely understand that.
So to have to be making only those heteronormative shirts.
I feel similarly uncomfortable working on a lot of Christmas holiday merchandise. We talked about this the other day, how if you're going to say holiday and then make everything red and green, it's no longer like
I love your product. Hanukkah pinup. That was dope. That was dope.
Hanukkah's cute.
That was so on point. And I feel similarly as a Muslim, because like, when our holidays like Ramadan bases on the moon cycle, so it's going to go back a month every year until it's in the winter, and then you'll be able to say happy Ramadan to your Muslim friends. People are telling me happy Ramadan during December, and I'm just like, thank you for the early notice. Like, because people are trying, but sometimes they just mean Merry Christmas, and they just should say Merry Christmas. I sound like a Republican, but it's fine. Like, like I feel like if you say what you mean,
as a teenager working at Disney, I hated working like Christmas shit in like mid-November, but when it was Christmas Day, I was wishing everyone a Merry Christmas because it's Christmas today.
Yeah. It makes sense.
I don't know, like if I was raised Christian, but if somebody says Happy Hanukkah to me, I'm just, oh, thank you.
Yeah, same to you.
Like how does that hurt me any
I've been doing that with
like, yeah, Happy Hanukkah to you too. Like that, literally no skin off my back. So like,
I did once though almost request to not be staffed at Christmas trees, at least in November, because having people be like, Jesus be with you, like on like November 15th. I was like, what?
So my birthday's Halloween, and I get so frustrated when the day after my birthday, people are starting with the Christmas music. But then I have like friends like my friend Kate, who's just like, Christmas music is life, But I grew up Christian too. I converted to Islam in 2015, and like, there are some traditions that I still retain, but I think that it's very much enmeshed in the culture. But I do like when people try and they put a little menorah out. I just don't like when they light all the candles at once and they put it all lit on the first day.
Well, you're wrong.
there's oh, you mean like
they just say, oh, all 8 are lit plus the shamans.
They don't do the
night by night. Yeah. See, I grew up in New York, so like every like apartment building you walk into, they're actually like doing that one at a time with their little electric menorahs. Like,
I love the Hanukkah truck in New York. So for y'all who don't know, there's so much religious diversity in New York, and it's really beautiful. And like I did not grow up in New York. I definitely grew up here. But when I lived in New York in the Brownsville area, it's kind of this area where like there's Black community and the Latino community, and also this like Hasidic Jewish community as well as Reform Jews, and we all just sort of like living together. And then within the Black community, you have like Christians and Muslims and Jews and atheists and everybody. But during Hanukkah, there's this truck that goes around, and it looks like those trucks that you see like outside of sporting events with like
the panel trucks or whatever.
Yeah, the panel trucks, and it just like plays like Hanukkah music, and it's so festive and so dope. I love it. And one of them was playing like Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song.
One of my favorite things that they've done at the Disney Festival of Holidays was adding mostly kosher to perform and do klezmer, because klezmer music is just fun.
And they do like klezmer versions of Disney songs, and
their first year they did the Incredibles theme. It was so good.
Of just like pop songs, and then they do just like traditional klezmer music, and it's like so
on
cool.
my birthday, which I hate the fact that I'm November 13th and my birthday is like it's already holiday season at Disneyland, but the fact that I got to dance the hora with my friends this year was insane.
I love that.
Really cool. Like, I almost cried. And then I posted a video, and a bunch of my Jewish friends who were, like, hardcore Disney people were like, I'm crying from watching this video. I don't understand. Like, why am I crying?
Yeah, it's like whenever I do, like, a hijab cosplay, and people are just like, what? That, I guess, could be a hijab. Oh, my God. Like, people love representation, which, like, I think is the whole, like, thesis of this talk that we're having is just that, like, so, like, more of a theological approach, I guess. Like, my friend said that just because, so like this is more like biblical or like Quranic or Toraic, but you talk about like the sunrise and the sunset in the holy books, and just because there's no discussion of like dusk or dawn or these specific times of day, we're not going out in the street when we see dusk or dawn because we know that they're there. It's implied. And I think that's beautiful too, because Disney, I think, has really walked the line well, talking about inclusion in a way that doesn't dismiss or harm anyone. They're just saying like, we're here, they're there,
And they're slowly making progress. They're making efforts. But like we talked about on the last time when we were on together, countries that are more conservative really force their hand and are preventing true inclusion. And I get very frustrated because there are so many people who want desperately for Elsa to be gay. And she's definitely queer-coded. There's so much queer coding in her songs, and it's amazing.
I mean, I relate super hard, like just feeling like being in a girl's locker room and the feeling of like how she is about like, I need to control my powers. Cause like, I was just afraid. First of all, you don't understand your body at that age. You're an adolescent and you're just like, no fucking stimulation at all. I like, it's just such fear, like I used to go and change in the bathroom stall. I never thought I was a fucking weirdo, but I was just like, so afraid of myself. And I think like, Elsa represents that feeling in a lot of young people of just being afraid of yourself and wanting to hide from the world.
But at the same time, I'm like, let Elsa just be Elsa. Let her exist as she is. Don't try to, in the sequel, which they didn't, thankfully, really. There's some implications, but they didn't go like, and Elsa has a girlfriend now, and this is her love story. Like, they didn't do that. And I think that's great because I think to have the first Disney princess, or Disney queen in this case, who would be openly like homosexual, for that to be someone who grew up trapped in her room her entire life.
Let's give a happy story.
Yeah, let's get real representation. Like, you deserve that. Like, children growing up gay deserve real representation. So, and I feel the same way about things like oh, like Elena's the Latina Disney princess. I'm like, yeah, for now, like, let's get a real actual Disney film, because
she's on Disney children's app. Like, yeah, come on, you know, we deserve the full fledged.
Exactly.
My argument to that, though, is that Elena has more screen time than any other Disney princess out there.
That is true. She did steal the throne from Dora the Explorer.
Mm-hmm. And brought on the first Jewish Disney princess.
Which, that episode was so cute. But again, this is all stuff that will be gone in 6 years. Disney TV animation does not last.
I do have to acknowledge my friend Mariah, who said Tiana is terrible. As a young black child, who our first princess was a fucking frog.
Oh, and also, like, the whole thing is, like, you have to work to get your dreams, which is a great message. And I actually have a white friend who is obsessed with Tiana. That is her princess, because she has that mentality.
Yeah.
You have to work to make your dreams come true. And she would always ask me, like, can I dress up as Tiana? I love her so much. I'm white. I don't know. So it goes in all sorts of directions, and it's great. She is a wonderful character. But yeah, for her to be a frog like 80% of the movie is bullshit.
Yeah, we were pissed. Like, there was this whole thing, and like my friend Yvonne was an intern during that time. I think I mentioned that last time. And he was brought in to the table where they were talking about Princess and the Frog, and he was so offended because he was like, great that he got to be there, but he was also like 16 doing an internship, and they brought him in like he was an expert on black people because there was like such a dearth. And so that really like woke them up, and they were able to like get the black employees together, sign a petition, and do more work on it. But the whole frog thing, like, they need to do it again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Give us her sequel where she's a human the whole time.
But also, just devil's advocate, Tiana also has more dresses than any other Disney
princess.
She
sure does.
That's true.
Most costumes. Straight up, I did a chart once of everybody's costumes. She changes clothes like every 5 minutes in this movie.
That's true.
First, she's got 2 separate waitress outfits because she's working multiple jobs.
It's also very forward of them to make their Disney princess naked for most of the movie.
First naked Disney princess. You heard it here, folks.
Oh my god.
No, wait, that's
but the prince in that movie, even
Ariel
though he was like,
oh, Ariel,
she did.
She did.
That was a gay awakening moment for me.
Was naked.
But the point about the prince, though he was not, like a traditionally or like visibly black prince, he was fine.
Yeah,
fine.
Good looking dude, yeah.
Well, and he's completely ambiguous racially because his accent pairs
from
with
everywhere.
His physical appearance. You're like, where did you come from, Naveen?
Probably Wakanda, because those accents were all over the fucking place too.
Oh my god, what a take.
Speaking of Wakanda, I actually, right as we were starting this, I was like, you know what, I want to look into like some live action and see some characters that are
because Marvel keeps queer baiting?
They do. Did you see? There's this angry lesbian that did this great video, and I wish I had a better descriptor for her, but she did this video after Captain America came out, or Captain Marvel, and she ran around her house talking about it, and I was obsessed. But then she wouldn't follow me back, and I lost interest. But she was talking about like, they're a family, they're gay. This is a gay thing. It was great.
I looked up at, different articles have been written about different coding in the Avengers movies. And Okoye is like the first one that comes up in every single one, and everybody's like, I want her to have her happy ending, and all of that.
Yeah, I want everything for her.
She's an amazing character.
She must be protected. She's wonderful.
And then, of course, Valkyrie comes up, who I think they did like officially say that Valkyrie is bi.
Oh, I mean, get it. Also, Jackie says Shuri is her favorite Disney princess, or one of, and that Captain Marvel is so fucking gay. Thank you, Jackie, for that.
And that's another one that somebody was like, because I don't think it wasn't Brie Larson who said it, but somebody was saying about it and was quoted that she's bi, and doesn't give a fuck about what men think. Like that's the thing that like defines her.
Also, when people started
in reference
shipping
to
them
this.
together, both actresses were like, "Oh hell yeah!" and like went for it on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
But I also think that Thor's queer coding is really pointed because if we look at Norse mythology and we look at like the invention of homosexuality as like a category of being, like that was way after Norse mythology was cemented. So it makes sense that there's this fluidity. It's just like with Greek and Roman mythology. They're gods. Of course they're not bound by like gender binaries or sexual orientation. They're fucking gods. Like what? And like
and he's
I think
also
that's really
incredibly sensitive because he's been like mourning his breakup for like multiple movies.
Yes, centuries.
He does not handle it well.
No, poor baby. I love Thor. He's my favorite.
And then Loki, who not so much in the movies, but actually in the comics.
Can I be right back about Loki? 1 second. I keep having to do this. Hold on.
In the
Jackie says she's confirmed as bi, and then Kat says her girlfriend's in the flat in a flashback in Ragnarok.
I haven't watched Ragnarok in a while, so I forgot about that. Yeah, no, and Valkyrie's a fucking badass too.
Oh my god, Kat 30 minutes ago asked if we could talk about Spin and Marty being queer coded, and I love that idea. Spin and Marty was one of the Mickey Mouse Club ongoing serials. Yes.
I have so many props.
I love this.
We
have so many shoots that we need to do when all of this is over.
But Loki's gay for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Well, they say. I think that like in the comics he is he's pan, so he's like, and that makes sense with his character too a lot. Like,
and he is so similar if you break it down to characters like Scar. Like Loki and Scar are basically the same character, almost exactly. Oh my god! Like wow,
it would be fun to see that like intertwined, and then also kind of Mufasa, you know, and like Thor, like
same story.
Yeah. And then the other one that came up in the Avengers universe was Bucky.
Ooh!
Oh, talk about a ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like the way his tragedy functions and like how... I mean, if you really think about like the whole 1950s gay menace conversation, his character development really shadows that, which is interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting. There's like this fetishization of gay couples, especially on Tumblr, or non-gay couples like Sherlock and oh my god, Watson, on the Sherlock series. Like there's like this whole sect of like teenage girls who obsess over these pairings, whether they actually
shipping
are
these things.
Exactly. Like, and it's interesting because I'm like, I don't ship them, but like I get it.
Yeah,
like, I completely get it. That tension is there. It's in every scene of the show.
But I think that's like very teen thing, like to constantly look for sexual tension, because like as you're exploring your like your own identity and gender and performance of self, like you start picking up on other shit and you become obsessed with it. So it's like, see, look at that, you know?
Now, Brianna Garcia is like the champion of this. She draws those ships.
I believe you mean she's the captain.
She's the ship's captain.
She's the captain of this ship, the Thor and Loki ship. She's
done so much Thor and Loki, but she also brought out, even in the Mad Tea Party, the show that was in California Adventure, she was the reason that the Dormouse and the March Hare were a ship, because they'd always like get all up on top of each other. I'm going to demonstrate. They'd do like this, and they would play guitars like over each other.
Or like they'd play each other's instruments and stuff. Like, really cool.
And it was
That's
like,
not a metaphor at all.
I don't know if it was happening before she started shipping them and doing that art, or if they were leaning into it, or if it was always
life,
like
imitates art, imitates life.
Because I know they were looking at that art. Like we know that.
Yeah.
So.
And
so it's everywhere. I mean, and that's the other thing is like we haven't even talked about theme parks, but Captain EO is considered like a
Rainbow King.
Yeah.
Problematic Rainbow King.
Yeah, a little bit.
But he literally has a rainbow on his costume, and then the message of the entire film is about like bringing that to like the queen, who is like backwards and like evil and cruel, and then she turns into a beautiful person when he brings like the message of like music and beauty through
and
the
love
universe.
And that was really dope. Like, I love Captain EO, and for those who don't know, that was when Michael Jackson did a collaboration that was super fucking expensive with Michael Eisner, right? And they did that video, and then of course there are the allegations we all know about Michael Jackson, and then it got pulled, and then it got reissued after he died. But when it was reissued, we went to go see it, and it was really dope. Just like the music and the like animatronics and all the puppetry, and it's just a beautifully visual experience.
It was like $1 million a minute, that movie.
It was expensive, which is interesting because Michael Eisner hates spending money, but it's just interesting to me
doesn't,
because like he
it
reminds me of
Lucas and Scorsese.
Oh, that's
together.
I knew Lucas, but
yeah,
okay.
That's why it was so expensive.
It makes me think of like The Wiz. Like, it really just felt like a rehash of The Wiz when you rewatch The Wiz.
100%. Even aesthetically, it's similar to The Wiz. Like, especially the early parts of The Wiz. And the villain and stuff.
Yes, Figment is the biggest queer in Walt Disney World.
So we talked about that with Jackie the other night when she was drawing him. And we were all sitting here going, why are we gendering Figment? Like, we know they say he but on the ride, but like, why have we accepted that the gendering of this dragon?
Well, not even of a dragon, of
my imagination.
A figment of your imagination. It's literally the most fluid thing you could possibly imagining your imagination, you know what I mean. So yeah, why does it have to be he? Like, it
DKC came in with the most savage comment. He was fine spending money until Frank Wells died. And I'm like, oh damn, like, holy shit.
Crossbows fired.
My heart. First of all, this.
What about Lando?
I searched about
that was
about articles of like that Lando is very pan.
Oh,
and it's less obvious.
He's sex on wheels.
It's less obvious in the originals.
Well, duh.
But in Solo, he plays it up so well.
Yeah, a lot of folks in my circle who are like, is that just Donald Glovering? Or is this canon? Right. Or is it both? Yeah.
Which reminds me, you need to watch season 2 of Atlanta because there is some shit.
I need to catch up.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one for sure.
He's fabulous. Absolutely. Yeah, I was like, because, we're talking Disney and these are all under the Disney umbrella. Yeah, I was like, I want to know more modern things for the most part. Like, where do these...
Part of that conversation, then, what's gay in Pixar? Because obviously Buzz and Woody have a really intense relationship, but then they both get girlfriends at some point throughout the series to offset that.
I mean, Ken is queer-coded as fuck.
Bless him. Oh my god. Ken's amazing.
With the shoes.
So I feel like Woody starts out with Bo, and then number 2, Bo disappears.
Nope, she's there.
No, number 3, she disappears. But she's less of a part.
They had to remove her for 3 to make sense. There was no choice otherwise.
And then, I don't know, like, I think him and Buzz get even closer, and then we get back to 4. So, it's Buzz and Woody's little tryst, and then he runs off to go be with Bo.
CJ says, I hear Riley a lot in Inside Out. Riley does.
Which one was Riley?
The child whose head they're in.
Yeah.
That one's difficult as a view into, like, inclusiveness, because like I was watching it, and afterward I was upset. I was like, these are all like white emotions, and my friend was like, yeah, they can't have black anger be in a white kid's head, and that made me die laughing because I was like, I would be even more upset.
It's the same. Like the mom's emotions kind of represent her, the dad's represent him. There's the cat that like has a bunch of cats in its head, and you're going crazy. So like, if there was a black character or a Hispanic character or any of those,
they would have matching emotions. But but my friend basically called me out and was like, you're looking for emotion in the wrong place. Like, if you want the emotions in the head of a white kid to be a diverse array, like, that's probably to be problematic. And so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But as far as, I mean, that's really interesting. But also, like, I always try to shy away from queer coding kids, not because gay kids and trans kids don't exist. Absolutely not that case. No. But it's just because I think that gets into, like, a gray area of, like, placing desires inside of these innocent figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and they're still developing, and like they, it's tough to say who they are because they don't even know who they are yet.
Yeah.
Really. So,
I mean, like, I knew I was queer, but it wasn't like I want to have sex with girls because I was like 8, you know?
Right.
Like, I was like, what is sex, you know?
Well, and it's probably like how I watched Aladdin and thought, wow, I want to be Red Jasmine, and you watched Aladdin and went,
Exactly. Red Jasmine was fucking fire.
She is. But like for me, my response to that was, how do I be that?
And I was like, I want to be with that. Don't know what that means, but that's what I want. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was also invited. One of my friends was talking to me about how like the queens and kind of these like very like frigid figures in Snow White can be coded as like, well, you know, the exact thing told me was like bitter lesbian, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if that's projecting or if that's
no, but that's actually a great way of interpreting a character who is also throughout, fairy tales, like she marries the king and then the king dies and she comes into power, and coding that as just a concept is really
like Lady Tremaine as well, you know?
Yeah. Again, and it's like, well, did you marry because you wanted to get married or because that's what you do? And all of that.
Because it's society and that's what you do.
I actually had an amazing conversation with my French professor in college who was my advisor on my independent study about French fairy tales. And I said, why is it always a stepmother? Like, why is it like that? Why? And she said, it's because people died really young back then. So it was uncommon to have a second wife. It was, in fact, very normal.
Especially people dying in childbirth.
So I was just going to say, dying in childbirth was very common. So.
And for that young woman who was your second wife to be almost the same age as your first daughter wasn't that wild of a concept. And so that's why that's so prevalent in these stories.
My friend Joey said at Tabbington that Frollo is like the inverse of the frigid lesbian trope. Frollo is definitely queer. I don't know what the fuck Frollo is, like a homicidal maniac. What the heck, Frollo?
He's a sexually repressed like chaos figure.
Yeah.
He's like gone so far off the other side that
it's like Mike Pence levels.
Yeah, and that's what it is when you come to Disney villains, is they're all extremes. They're either Mike Pence or they're divine. Like there is no middle.
I love that speech.
We're calling Frollo Mike Pence from now
on.
God. Remember that time Frollo went to the Mayo Clinic and didn't wear a mask?
No! Oh my God. But
I hope my mom's still watching.
Yep.
She is. That's great. I'm glad she was here for that.
Frollo sex identifies as the worst.
Now, we wrote a little list down of some of the characters that we wanted to talk about. Neil wants to talk about Madame Mim.
Well, because you were talking about, the characters being ugly and, as a villain and all of that. And then in a way, sort of, she has this wonderful moment where she's like, I could cast a spell and be this pretty woman, but I'm just going to be what I am.
Yeah.
And even though she's a villain, and there's a lot to unpack with her and Merlin and all of that, because we talked with our friend Jack about the Merlin lore and everything, and she's more like what's the character's name? A character that has an actual more of a Morgana. She's actually like more like Morgana. And like that, their whole relationship that underlies with that is a little more complicated. But I do love that she goes like, I could be this pretty thing if I wanted, but I'm just going to be me.
But it's only skin deep.
Yeah, but it's only skin deep.
She says that like explicitly.
Yeah.
Now, just before I forget, one of our regulars asked us to just once again define queer coding for anyone just joining us.
Yes.
So there's queer representation, which is actual gays on screen. And then there's the implication of homosexuality. And we see that a lot in villains in particular, especially going back a little bit further. Sometimes overtly because they were inspired by drag queens, and sometimes a little more like...
subtly.
Yeah.
And unintentionally or maybe unfortunately intentionally, like.
Well, there's also queer coding that gets into queer baiting, and that's basically what Taylor Swift did around this time last year, where she was like, I don't know, buy my album and find out, and then was like, just kidding, I'm straight. That's frustrating because then you have people like really invested. It's basically when people try to bank off of the potentiality of queerness, and queerness itself is so not necessarily undefinable, but is very ambiguous and nebulous by its nature. It is outside of the norm. But so yeah, there's queer coding, queer baiting, and then actual queer representation, and that's what you strive for.
Exactly. So now that we are back on the agenda, we wrote this little list. We have Jafar, Ursula, Shere Khan, and a lot of people in the comments earlier were talking about King Candy.
Ooh.
Which I had not thought about. Also, Neil just pointed out that our Instagram stream is going to time out in a few minutes.
Okay, so let's extend it. I just need to get my headphones and plug in.
Absolutely.
All
right, let me go do that. I'll see y'all.
We'll make you one of those. I'll be back.
Yes, we'll be right back.
Catch y'all
Everybody,
in a bit.
Come join us again and bring your questions because we are here
ready
to talk. All right, see you in a second. Yeah, we're live again. Paste the thing, post it, pin it. I did it. After a shot and a drink. I still managed to pin the comment without flipping the camera. Yeah. Small victories, guys. Small victories in quarantine. So we are restarting our live stream for anyone who is just joining me, who was not in the last one. We are doing a deep dive into queer coding and queer representation in all forms of Disney media. So I'm just waiting to reconnect with our guest, Blair Imani, who is an absolute badass. And we are absolutely so lucky to have her on the show talking about all of this because she is a genuine expert on all of these subjects. So, Neil is reminding me to suggest that you watch her TED Talk, which I can link again in my story after the show. I linked it last time she was on, which was only a few days ago. And we had such a great time that we were like, when is our next available open day? Like, let's just do it that day. So we had so much fun talking. So, Neil, did you mail that stuff? Vaping Vegas is asking if you posted.
Oh, shit, yes.
Yes, masks have been shipped. So if you were waiting on a mask from us, they are hopefully on the way, thanks to the U.S. Postal System.
I don't know if I have a tracking.
He says he's not sure if he's a tracking number, but we can sort that out another time. Now, I have this whole list of talking points because we were diving into so many facets of this subject. So we were just starting to talk about Disney villains, which I had always heard about Disney villains being queer-coded and how big a thing that was. And I'm really excited to share that conversation now. And thank you to everyone who has been participating in the comments because your thoughts on King Candy, he didn't even come up when I searched for this, but I totally understand where that is coming from.
Totally.
And Neil says, and Sour Bill from the other room where he's making me another Park Ave because I cannot get enough of our Lamplight Lounge drinks now that we've had that one.
And we'll get into this more. It makes me think of the Sultan.
Yes. So I actually was looking at some of my notes from this class that I took in college about how Sultan is in some ways like kind of this dysfunctional character that would almost go like hand in hand with like characters like Flounder, who are just sort of like, they need another character or multiple other characters to support them to be a whole person and like a functional person.
It's kind of like the external function. He's like, wait for me, huh?
I love Sultan so much, and I remember when they were coming out with the live action Aladdin, I made a little meme that was like, when did this become hotter than this? Like the slim, like kind of good looking Sultan in the live action movie, but I'm like, no, like chubby little round Sultan, so cute.
Okay, with the eyebrows. All right.
He's adorable.
Okay, but she compared him to Flounder and a lot of characters who like can't get along on their own. Ooh, headphone change.
I had to plug in.
Yeah.
Silent.
But he was like hypnotized for half of the movie. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
In the new one?
No, the original.
No, in the original. Like, I have to imagine that more than just that one time, Jafar had flashy thinged him, and
Thank you for saying it like that.
And his brain was jello by this point. Like,
That's true.
Like, he's not. I don't think he's useless. He's obviously been running the country. He obviously at some point had a wife who helped him to raise
everyone
an incredibly
who
strong...
runs a country is useful. No.
But he does need the events of the movie to teach him that he can just make a law to make it okay for Jasmine to marry whoever.
And here's what I think. I would be willing to bet that what is the counterpart to Sultan?
Sultana, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. His wife, I have to say that she was a very guiding force in him ruling, and that's why he seems so inept when he's ruling on his own. He's like,
oh, that's a really nice way to interpret that.
Yeah, I'm like, she probably was his greatest counsel, and then she's now gone, and he's like, fuck, what do I do?
Now, Latin, one of the articles I read today was written by a gay person who was saying, I miss queer coding in Disney because the villains suck now. And I thought that was the funniest way to respond to that. It's like, no, we shouldn't just be like saying like gay people are villains, but also when you make Jafar less gay, he's really fucking boring.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he was boring, and like the fact that he was like marrying a woman specifically for power in the original is super queer coded, because like it makes me think of Elton John and his marriage that was purely for like media, and he really regretted it. And I can't stop talking about Elton John like for the first 5 minutes of every stream we do. But
I love Elton John, so
he wrote all the songs in The Lion King.
Yeah, like icon. But anyway, and then one thing we hadn't said, and we touched on it, is Cyrus Goodman from Andy Mack being like a solid, not queer-coded, but representational gay character.
Yeah.
And they're slowly working on it.
I was going to say, which I feel like you probably know a bit more about. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for anyone who's watching who hasn't seen it? Because we have not watched that much Andy Mack.
I almost started watching it today, and I was like, I don't have time.
So I watched it when I was on the plane, and it's funny because I'm friends with Joshua Rush, who played Cyrus Goodman, and it's funny because I wouldn't have watched it otherwise. But it's so important that like young people, like like my nephews and nieces, know that like it's okay to be gay. And like at the end, I think it's like the season finale or whatever, like they're like both motocrossing or whatever, and they're like hanging out, and he's on a little gay date, and it's so cute. And then Joshua Rush himself came out as bisexual just last year, and so it's just really cute to see those compliments, but just the amount of like intention that not only Disney but that Joshua had in working directly with gay people to make sure like this is going to be properly represented. I'm going to elevate people, because before he was out, he was he wasn't really defined, but he was clear that like I'm an ally to the gay community, and he would go and do things for GLAAD and volunteer his time. And I think that's really noble, because whether or not you're out doesn't stop you from doing good work.
Absolutely. There are a lot of good allies out there who we know who have like helped our local community at least, and the acceptance.
And what you're talking about right now is actually very similar to Modern Family, where Eric Stonestreet plays the gayest of gays on the show, or up there. Nathan Lane does make appearances, but he's straight.
Yeah.
And he's the flamboyant one in the relationship. Jesse Tyler Ferguson is gay. And he's the more restrained character.
Which I think, like, it within the conversation we're having here, having the gay man playing the gay man who's just a normal guy. He's not the ridiculous archetype of a gay man.
He's just damaged in the same way that Claire is damaged from
they're both damaged
father,
from a father of that era. I think is really cool.
Withholding father is kind of, I think, the word that we're looking for. Yeah.
It makes me think about this sketch that Key and Peele had done, where Jordan Peele plays this like reserved gay man, but he comes across as homophobic because his coworker is being like super flamboyant, drinking out of a mug that's shaped like a dick, like very not even archetypal, just like stereotypical, like obnoxious. More I've seen more like straight bachelorette parties that act that way than like actual gay people, but anyway. And then the other character is like, well, why are you so homophobic? And then Jordan Peele's husband comes and picks him up from work, and it's like,
I think I saw that sketch and I was just like, oh damn, like, oh, it's so good.
Well, it's similar to the bitchy gay trope. And how some people are like, it's not that I don't like gay people. I have gay friends. I just don't like bitchy people in any gender.
Of any gender or preference, like, whatever. Like, I don't like assholes. And if you're being that, like, bye.
I don't like girls
you
who
can
act
like
that.
assholes, but just don't be one.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
And I love, do you watch Big Mouth?
I'm such a dad. Wow.
No, that's what we're here for.
I'm fired.
Because Andrew Rannell's character in Big Mouth had the best character moment where somebody told him,
which one is
it's the gay child.
He's the blonde boy, yeah.
It's when an older gay man tells him being a bitchy gay is not a personality.
Yeah.
And
he's
he has a total like tone change and character development that happens after that statement is made, and it's like, holy shit, what a thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's refreshing. Like, I think that like for my brother, like I felt like he fit into that trope, but it wasn't so much that like that's a function of being gay. It was because he felt like most people, anybody who's a bully, they're usually dealing with something in their heart or at home, and they can't express it or like figure out a way, so they're very defensive. It's like tsundere is like the Japanese